Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and some of the world's biggest stars, and we've got one for you today. Russell Watson, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
You are marvellous. The thing about you is, you see, I think we first spoke over 20 years ago when you were selling out, and you're still selling out. It's a remarkable success. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good feeling, all these years later. And, we're still selling venues out up and down the United Kingdom and to a degree around the world as well. We just got back from Hamburg, actually, where, to be fair, if I'd have known what was going on, we probably wouldn't have turned up to do the concert. The last one was a little bit scary because we turned up at Hamburg airport and were greeted by about 5,000 police with machine guns and there were tanks and all kinds of stuff knocking around, and we thought, what on earth's going on here? Anyway, we're driving into the town, we get to the hotel, and there's massive police blockades, and there's hundreds of police cars lined up roaming around the streets, and all of a sudden we sort of said, why the police presence? Oh, didn't you know it's the G20 summit this weekend? There we were. We're sat in the dressing room of the theatre. Absolutely beautiful theatre as well. We were with the Berlin Symphony Orchestra, and the Hamburg Symphony Orchestra. And there we were, sat in our dressing room, looking out the window. No word of a lie, as we're watching tanks and police cars and riot vans full of riot police drive past. And then we're looking on the news, and all you can see is that there's riots all over Hamburg, and we're stuck in the middle of it. The next day when we'd done the gig, because it was pretty frightening, all of it. There's cars set on fire, down the roads that we were driving down, and all kinds of stuff. And the next day when we were at the hotel, we tried to book a taxi to the airport. Oh, there are no taxis to the airport. The city is in lockdown. Oh, wow. Great. So we had to get our luggage and drag them to the nearest train station, and thankfully got there in one piece. But yeah, it was all pretty frightening.
Do you know what I love about you, I think, the most? You're the Steve Wright of classical music. No matter what happens in your day, you're still able to walk on a stage and make it look like everything's perfect. How long did it take you in your career to be able to do that? Because when you've been through something like a war zone and then you got to walk on a stage and sing perfectly, that takes an incredible amount of nerves, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't, because it's dare I say, it's almost like a separate personality, the personality that goes on stage, because off stage, if I'm out, and my wife will say this to me, my sister, everyone, if I'm out, we could go out for dinner or something or wherever, I'm quite quiet. I like to be, I always say, can you get me a table in the corner out of the way, and never want to be the slap bang in the middle of the restaurant with a suit and all the rest of it. It's always jeans and a t-shirt or whatever. And it's just not me. That showbiz lifestyle has never, ever interested me. I don't have any showbiz friends really to speak of. And I've never kind of bought into all the, all the peripheral stuff that goes on in the showbiz world. But when I walk out of from the side of a curtain onto a stage and there's an audience in front of me, the light hits my face, I transform into something that isn't who I am when I'm not on the stage. And it's something completely different. The confidence and everything that I feel on the stage, it's the only place where I actually feel like I'm completely in control of everything that's going on around me. And that is when I'm on stage in front of an audience, and that's where I become, the voice, so to speak. And it's a completely different thing to the person that's sat backstage waiting to go on.
I'm wondering why you want to be an outsider in show business, because I've never heard anybody say a bad word about you. There's nobody in show business who can slag off your work ethic or your talent, because you're up there with the absolute best. Is it sort of passive aggressive that you don't want to be part of that community, or is it a shyness? Where does that come from?
I think it's the latter. I'd say it was more of a shyness and a sort of, and a sense of, I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to explain why. I've never courted that kind of celebrity lifestyle, and there are people. Don't get me wrong. There are lots and lots of people that I know in the music world, and there are lots of famous and people, celebrities that I know, and I would talk to, if I bumped into them and say hello. But that doesn't mean that, at weekends I'm going to go out for dinner with them and become the best pals and so on, because that's something to me that has always been something that has never been. It's not construed, it's not planned, it's not something like, I want to be your friend because you're famous and I am.
Right.
It either is or it isn't, and it's not. And the celebrity parties and, all the celebrity bashes, I'll just be straight with you, I don't enjoy it.
Right.
I get bored. I'd rather go out with my mates or my family and have a few drinks and a laugh with people that I know than go out with a load of people that I don't know just because they're all over TV. That's me. And it's not because, I think that people who do like to go to those things are doing anything, it's not because of that. People who go to those, like to go and mix in the showbiz circles, well, you know what, fair enough, that's what you want to do. They enjoy it, so that's why they go. I don't enjoy it, that's why I don't go. It's got nothing to do with, I don't want to be involved in it. It's just that I'd rather go out with my mates.
Yeah, I think we're probably different because I don't have a lot to do with radio people or showbiz people that I don't like because I think most of them are knobheads. You know what I mean? It's just easier to save time, isn't it, really? And let's be honest, Russell, I don't know whether you're like me. I rarely find anybody more interesting than myself, to be honest. So why would I go to a party with boring people? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot of these, there's a lot of the showbiz dudes that I'm sure are absolutely wonderful and, great fun and all the rest of it. But I'm not. Sometimes I think that, folk turn up at these events. There's a few artists that I can think of straight off the top of my head that I wouldn't say. But there are folk that go to these events because they want to be seen.
Yeah. Well, I know people who go to red carpets for opening nights and don't go to the show. They just literally want to be pictured, which is an obscene abuse of the system, really, isn't it?
It's I don't know. I mean, who cares about the system? Is my view.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that some people, want to court that type of lifestyle. They like the red tops, they like being in the newspapers, they like the picture taken with, whatever trendy outfit they've got on at the time and being in GQ. I'm not interested.
I did buy some Asda jeans last week and they look nice. I'm hoping to get in the Daily Star, do you know what I mean? Have you been to Aldi, by the way, recently? They've got some nice new mozzarella for 79p. I'm hoping to be pictured with that as well.
Well, I'll tell you something. They do a really good £10 bottle of champagne.
Do they?
Yeah, I'm not joking. It's as good as any of the mid-range French champagnes. Veuve Clicquot, those types of things. Check it out.
Well, apparently,
are kid that do that nice, but yeah, they do a really good bottle of champagne. It's about £10.
And I think I read last week they've got the best gin 2017. Who knew?
I think it's called Monsignor or something.
Oh, is it? What does that stand for? Get drunk?
I don't know. Yeah, get drunk on cheap champagne. It tastes just like £30 champagne.
Well, that's the thing. I would never spend 50 quid on a Veuve Clicquot because by the second glass, you don't know what you're drinking anyway, do you? Let's face it.
No, this stuff tastes just like it, and it's £10 a bottle.
Wow.
I'm telling you, man.
Good Lord. I could get drunk for about $3.50. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, Hayley said there's going to be a surge in Aldi.
Yes, yeah.
If you are going to Aldi and you do try one of their bottles of champagne and you are a fan, get me one as well.
I once had a surge in Aldi, but the security asked me to leave. They said it was inappropriate. The tour continues with Russell Watson this summer. 2nd of September is the opening date in Cheshire at Bolesworth Castle. Then to Durham, Harlow, Lincoln Drill Hall. I'll come and see you there. Hereford, Lancaster, Ulverston, Mould and Runcorn. And it continues and continues. I mean, you're never happier than when you're on stage. I wonder privately, is your home your oasis now? Is that where you're happiest when you're not on stage?
Yeah, definitely. No question. Not even have to think about that for more than a second. Without question, it is. Got a great unit here now. That my sister's my business manager. My daughter does all our social media and program designs and all the rest of it. and yeah, it's just it's the way forward.
Well, and you've got to find people you can trust, and if you can't trust your family, you really are finished, aren't you? So it's a perfect recipe for success.
Yeah, but I mean, people have been done over by the families, but I've
There is
already
that.
warned them that the consequences would be catastrophic for them.
Well, I mean, you're not going to do the big shop in Aldi for a start, are you? I mean, if they don't behave,
Can you hear my sister cackling in the background? Listen.
Do you remind them that, if they don't behave, you won't do the big shop in Aldi and that they'll have to pay for their own cheap champagne? Is this the threat that keeps them on side?
No, I think I think when you do have people around you that care about you, they want to do well for you.
Of course.
It's having a group of people. It's funny because again, without mentioning any names, I've had more managers than the Premier League scene. So, and that's because my expectations of what I should get from a management company, I think in the past have been too high for what these people are actually physically able to deliver. And so that's why I've been through a lot of people in the past, because my expectations of what I've wanted or where I've wanted to be or do haven't been quite met. When you've got someone working with you and they're right in front of you, I can sit and talk to my sister. We'll spend an hour or two each morning going through, strategizing, planning tours and everything. And I know that it's going to get done. I know that I'm, because I'll say it straight. I would say that 80% of what people say to you in the music industry is bullshit.
Yeah.
No question about it.
But is it just music? I think in life now, it seems to me that we're all in a world, whether you're in any job now, we've sort of changed, haven't we? Honour and integrity doesn't count for much.
It's like, I have this philosophy with regards to the music industry. If anybody says to you, it's 99.9% certain it's going to happen, that means it's gone.
Yes.
There's no chance.
It's the 0.1% will come true.
Yeah, the better saying, if somebody says to you it's 50-50, that means there's a real good chance that this could happen. Right. But if someone comes to you and says 99.9% certain, the gig's gone. Another thing as well, if anybody in the music industry says, to be honest with you, that means they're lying straight away.
Yes. And I learnt at the BBC, when the managers say to you, here's what I like to say, it's them buying time to tell you a lie. Here's what I'd like to say. It's a curious phrase. It
is, yes. Here's what I'd like to say. Actually, no, it's not. I'm going to lie.
Yeah. I'm going to bleep this, but the last interview I did with Danny LaRue, he said to me something. I was 18 years old, and I'll never forget it. He said, young man, he said, you're a very talented young man. He said, you're going to go very far, but there's one thing you must remember. I've been in the business 70 years, and there's one thing I've learnt. They're all It's a true story. It's a true story. And you know what? I have to listen to a man who's been in the business 70 years. He knew, and he died a poor man without a penny, living in his dresser's back bedroom, and was ripped off every penny and had a good heart. And you do have to protect yourself, don't you?
When these things come along, when people take something that's not due to them within the industry, you have to... It's important that when you look at these things, you look at them and you learn from them. And one of the things that I've done over the last 17 years is work a lot of things out. And that's why we have created, in essence, our own little bubble. We are not controlled by the governing bodies and the powers that be. We have our own team. We use our own agent who, if for instance, I want to book a concert tour in March to June, I can book a concert tour in March to June. I don't need to go to an agent who will then say, well, who else is on in March and June? Can we put him on then? Or will he clash with Scooby-Doo and will he clash with Betty Boop?
I like that tour, though. I thought they were very good together. I just wish they'd come out the closet and get married, though. But they were very good on stage. I like their album.
Oh, Scooby-Doo
And Betty Boo. It was marvellous. Very good. The Christmas special was wonderful. It was like the good old days of Frank and Sammy and Dean, wasn't it?
That was the only problem, though, with Scooby, is he was a bit like the person that we were talking about prior to this interview, where sometimes he just wouldn't turn up.
No.
And it'd be like, Scooby-Doo, where are you? It was massively problematic for Betty, because she was a consummate professional.
That's it. And the fight over dressing room 1, it went on for days.
Good Lord. I heard many years ago a story about a very well-known comedy duo who actually used to squabble about who got the best dressing room.
Right.
So what they ended up doing in a lot of the bigger venues was they actually made identical dressing rooms, because they were such big stars at the time. They made identical dressing rooms so that they wouldn't squibble or squabble about. And then it'd be, I want the one on the left.
Wow. And I don't know whether it's age or cynicism, but you do realise none of that matters, does it? I mean, I see these wars that go on, and none of it matters, does it, at the end of the day?
No, as long as I've got a mirror in there, it's fine.
Yeah, you'd get changed in your car if you could, wouldn't you, really?
I used to many years ago.
Save on the heating. Changing your drawers in a car park, it's a bit humiliating.
That's what, when people say, you did the clubs, well, that's what that taught me.
Yeah.
So I was, you're prepared for every single eventuality.
Yeah.
We haven't got a dressing room here, Cocker. You're going to have to get changed in toilet. Oh, no.
What I do like now, though, is when I get booked in those places, at least I now get a disabled toilet so I can hold onto a rail when I'm pulling my drawers up.
That's very kind of them. I haven't got that kind of treatment. Lucky you.
Yeah. You should get one of those grab rails put in your dressing rooms in all the theatres. It should be on your rider. Oh, they do help. With age, putting your socks on. We must talk about Heaven and Earth, this musical that you're doing later in the year. You're the voice of God. What does that mean, then? What is it going to be?
It's pretty much what it says on the tin. My voice will literally be heard booming from the heavens on what is, in essence, the very first sound system of its type in the United Kingdom. It's been used in the United States, but it's never been trialled over here, and it's like this sort of, it's almost like a virtual surround sound. So so in many respects, when my voice is heard booming from the imaginary clouds, you will feel like you are completely encapsulated in a godlike voice. I won't be there.
Oh, okay.
I'm not appearing at any of the shows. I'll be touring at that point, doing my own tour, which we'll probably be announcing very soon. To see how I did that.
Very clever.
I mean, it's in arenas all over the UK. Hayley's just held up like a little post-it with October written on it. So it'll be in October that we're announcing it, although we've just announced it to you, so,
Oh, so that sounds like a bit of an exclusive. Tell us again then. So we've got something coming. When is it? What is it? Where is it? How do we get to it? What's it all about?
Well, we'll be doing a big announcement in October about a tour that we're planning for next year.
Oh, wow.
The first mentions of dates and venues and locations and how many dates we're going to be doing will be exclusively released in October.
Brilliant. Well, we won't tell a person about it. We'll keep that under our hats until then.
Yes.
So a busy summer on the way. I guess for you, there's still no greater thrill, very finally. We talk about this all the time, of being Russell Watson, having that voice, the orchestra behind you. Still thrilling?
It never goes away. If it did, I would be... I don't know how I'd feel if that feeling ever went away, that feeling of when I walk out on the stage and the exhilaration and also the like people talk about, when they go to the gym and they're working out and they get the endorphins, the feel-good hormones that make them feel wonderful. I get that when I sing. I call it the singing feeling, because as soon as I start to sing, it releases these wonderful hormones into my system that make me feel very, very happy. It's actually been proven that singing can improve your state of mind in so many different areas in your life. That's actually a scientifically proven fact. So there you go. So whenever I go on stage, I sing, and it makes me feel good. And it doesn't matter, you mentioned before, it doesn't matter what's going on around me. The world can be caving in around me, and I get out on that stage, and it's like, when I found out that going back all the way back to 10 years ago when I was first diagnosed with my tumour, and I'd been in to see the Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, and then 2 hours later I was stood in front of a microphone with Frank Sinatra's jazz band in Capitol Studios in Los Angeles, and that's just what it does.
And I deliberately not asked this question at the beginning, I'll ask it at the end. We always ask you, how are you?
Very good. Better than ever at the moment. Hate to say that. Last time I said that was on Michael Parkinson, and things didn't go particularly well for the following few weeks afterwards. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, 10 years on down the line, and as good as ever. My voice at the moment is, it really is in fine form. It's working incredibly well. Probably, I would say, as good, if not better, than it's ever worked right now. Which is a real blessing and a real bonus. So I'm doing some of my best singing and best performances right now.
I have huge respect for you. I think you're one of the greatest talents that's ever walked the earth. I think you're incredible, a remarkable human being, and huge respect. RussellWatson.com is the place to go for tour dates. You can find out more about Heaven and Earth, which goes on the road next year. Tour dates for the summer, autumn and Christmas you can find at www.russellwatson.com. It's always a pleasure. Keep on keeping on, won't you? Thanks for talking to me.
You got it. God bless. Thank you.